So I'm kind of excited about tonight. You see, I've asked the president of our youth group, Jack Lilly, to come and share Devar Torah. And there's something, I think, really quite powerful about it. Not just the fact that he said yes, which is also a good thing, but also this idea that our students have a voice. Our teens have messages. I think our students can be our greatest teachers. That's one of the greatest things about having young people become b'nai mitzvah, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, come and teach us Torah. Like, there's something kind of incredible about that. It's hard. It's not easy. We don't usually think this way. But to have teenagers come forward who are leaders amongst their peers and who have something to say, and I think it's significant for their synagogue to say, okay, come here in this safe space and say it. That's important. The other thing I want to share before he shares his message about the Torah portion, about the Parsha, is that if Torah is going to be real, a living Torah, something that is going to be relevant, then we have to find a way to tap into this ancient text and draw out of those living waters a message that fits for today. Now, this Torah portion has lots of different things. When I first talked to Jack about it, he had a few different ideas going on. It was all very exciting. And while he's going to share his message, the idea of finding a truth in this ancient text, standing on the shoulders of thousands of these generations that have come before us, is something that's powerful. And now Jack stands again on those shoulders, helping us to make sense of something very ancient, try and take something that we feel we might not have time for and bring it into our lives in our day. So I'm going to ask you to come forward and come share your Devar Torah. Hey there. Good job.
Shabbat Shalom. What does it mean to be good? As a young child, we are taught that being good is simple. Do what you are taught, respect others, and when you see a wrong, fix it. Whether it be listening to the teacher when you are talking, sitting with the new student at lunch, or sharing your toys, doing good is taught to be a simple concept. Just as our teachers set norms and rules around being and doing good, this Torah portion serves to do the same. Mishpatim, or These Are the Rules, was written to simplify the overly complex ideals of what it means to be good, to do good, and to right one's wrongs. Think of it as a set of classroom rules, but for life. One of the most memorable lines in this portion, one that was quoted all through my Jewish childhood, "You shall not wrong or oppress the stranger, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt," really sums up what I think doing good means. It tells the Jewish people to look far, far back into its ancient history and use what happened then as a means to be kind to others. When God wrote "the stranger," it literally represents a non-Israelite who is living among the Israeli people. These people had left their tribes and were very vulnerable, but the Jewish people were expected to treat them well and with respect. We need to take similar actions as those ancient Jewish people did. Do not wrong, do not oppress the other, the needy, the already oppressed, the struggling, the hated, and the minority. Largely because of this mentality, the Jewish people are major supporters of the civil rights movement, racial justice, refugee resettlement, and other support, and many other issues that help and better the lives of the other. In school, I'm taking a class called Understanding Diversity in America. I know, how cool is that for a public school? We are taking an in-depth approach to better understanding the ideas of privilege, strength, ability, and power. While many of the students in the class are in shock at all of the issues in this society that are being highlighted by this class, I am sadly not. How could I be, when as a member of the Jewish youth, I have been ingrained with the need to practice tikkun olam and to learn about the many problems in our world and what we can do to fix them from an early age. This contributes to why I am so happy to be a part of the Jewish community. Those small words, "don't oppress the stranger," that appear in the middle of a 5-book series have created an entire religious movement to better the world. Those small words are taken so seriously that modern-day Jews do as much as they can to take part in acts of social justice. Even though the Jewish people are a minority, and there are still horrible acts of anti-Semitism, and it would be so easy for us as a people to close our doors and separate from the terrible things in the world. We don't. I believe this is why an entire portion of the Torah is dedicated to rules, not to control, not to debilitate, not to take away freedom, but rather to empower and to help us lead lives of distinction. The Jewish people have faced many horrors, but still we are strong. We are an empowered people. Speaking as a high school student, I wish that there was a simple rule book that highlights the steps on how to be good in today's time. Even in that real world, I wish we didn't have a stranger or even know the word oppress, but we do, and that is the reality. But rather than blend in with the crowd and not stand up for what is right, we need to shout at the top of our lungs and embrace those who are struggling with the many struggles that we have faced. Use our empowerment to empower others, those who aren't lucky enough to wake up every Sunday morning for Sunday school to learn about repairing the world. God doesn't want us just to identify as being Jewish. God wants us to use what is taught in Judaism to create an impact on our lives and the lives of others. And though the Torah says, you shall not wrong or oppress a stranger, I think we need to take that one step farther and actually help the stranger and speak up for the stranger. As speaking up for the stranger and cultivating the idea of tikkun olam is how I and many others are impacted by our Judaism. I, as a high school student, and all of us in this room, should start to actively take part in the amazing movement to help the stranger and to better the world through tikkun olam. Toda rabah.
So, first of all, Yasher Koach, that was so good. That was so strong. Yasher Koach means we want them to go from strength to strength, and Jack, you are. You're modeling that, and I think that's really significant. You know, just to kind of make it kind of clear in case we're unfamiliar, this idea of tikkun olam means to repair a broken world. And once upon a time, there's a mystical story that God creates this vessel, and that's all of creation, but it was so intense that it breaks and it shatters. And all of these sparks of light kind of go flailing everywhere. And for some of us to interpret that idea, it's to bring those sparks of light back together again to make brighter light. It's kind of an amazing idea that God contracts to make room for something imperfect, and that's okay. And if God can do it, we can do it. But then we have to figure out, how do we get those sparks again? How do we bring light into a time when there's always these feelings of darkness, whether it's for myself or for my community, our congregation, or our planet? So this idea of litaken, of repairing, doing works of tikkun, that's something that is so significant in not just the Jewish world, but any community of faith. And we might have different ways of getting there, and I'm fine with that. But we have to roll up our sleeves and get to work. Because I don't think God's really interested in our praises. Maybe it's nice, but I don't think that's what God's waiting for. I think God is using these prayers and teachings and texts as a way for us to wake up. And if we can wake up, and we can do something about the broken pieces in our world. So thank you for your thoughtful and faithful message. And hopefully we get to continue that conversation more and more and more around here. I'm going to ask you